Welcome to Psych with Sigmund, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of psychology and uncover the secrets of the human mind. I'm your host, Sigmund, and today we're going to talk about a powerful concept that can help you develop a more positive outlook on life: learned optimism. So, what is learned optimism? In simple terms, it's the ability to think optimistically and expect good things to happen, even in the face of challenges or setbacks. This doesn't mean being naive or ignoring problems, but rather learning to approach them with a sense of hope and confidence. Learned optimism is important in psychology because it can have a significant impact on our mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. The concept of learned optimism emerged in the 1960s, thanks to the work of psychologists like Martin Seligman and Albert Ellis. They discovered that people who are optimistic tend to be more resilient, better able to cope with stress, and more likely to achieve their goals. Over time, our understanding of learned optimism has evolved, and we now know that it's not just an innate trait, but something that can be learned and developed through practice and experience. From a theoretical perspective, learned optimism is rooted in several key psychological frameworks, including cognitive behavioral theory and positive psychology. According to cognitive behavioral theory, our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interconnected, and by changing one aspect, we can impact the others. Positive psychology, on the other hand, focuses on cultivating strengths and promoting well-being, rather than just treating mental health problems. Research has shown that learned optimism is associated with a range of benefits, including lower levels of anxiety and depression, better physical health, and improved relationships. For example, a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that optimistic people tend to have stronger immune systems and are less likely to develop chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. But how can you develop learned optimism? One effective way is through a technique called cognitive restructuring, which involves identifying and challenging negative thought patterns. For instance, let's say you're facing a difficult situation at work, and you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to do." A more optimistic approach might be to reframe that thought as, "This is a challenge, but I've overcome tough situations before, and I can learn from this experience." Another strategy for cultivating learned optimism is to practice gratitude. Take time each day to reflect on the things you're thankful for, no matter how small they may seem. This can help shift your focus away from negative thoughts and cultivate a more positive mindset. Let's consider an example of learned optimism in action. Meet Sarah, a 30-year-old marketing executive who struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. Through cognitive behavioral therapy, Sarah learned to identify and challenge her negative thoughts, replacing them with more positive and realistic ones. She also started practicing yoga and meditation, which helped her cultivate a sense of calm and focus. As a result, Sarah reported feeling more confident, resilient, and optimistic, both in her personal and professional life. As my colleagues in the field would agree, learned optimism is not just a theoretical concept, but a practical tool that can be used to improve our lives. I've seen this firsthand in my work with clients who have learned to challenge negative thought patterns and develop more positive coping strategies. However, it's also important to acknowledge the limitations and controversies surrounding learned optimism. Some critics argue that it oversimplifies the complexities of human psychology or ignores the role of societal factors in shaping our experiences. Additionally, research has shown that learned optimism may not be equally effective for everyone, particularly those who have experienced trauma or adversity. Despite these limitations, the evidence suggests that learned optimism can have a positive impact on both physical and mental health. For example, studies have shown that optimistic individuals tend to have lower blood pressure, healthier weights, and stronger immune systems compared to their pessimistic counterparts. Additionally, learned optimism has been linked to increased motivation, productivity and job satisfaction, as well as better relationships and social connections. In conclusion, learned optimism is a powerful concept that offers us a roadmap for developing a more positive outlook on life. By understanding how our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected, we can learn to think more optimistically and cultivate resilience, hope, and well-being. As we continue to explore the complexities of the human mind, let's remember that psychology is not just about understanding ourselves, but also about learning to live more fulfilling and meaningful lives. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.